Hey everyone, I was bored, frankly. I'd done everything I needed to do today, and I thought I'd just go through a few old This Week in Stupid bits, or a few things that they're just so ridiculous. It's such low-hanging fruit. I can't bring myself to include it in an actual episode of This Week in Stupid, but it's still stuff I'm just like, I just have to mock this, because there's just everything wrong with these things that I want to talk about. They're just so bad. How the fuck? Shut up, me in the background, Jesus. Right, yeah, so I'm just going to share my screen. Right, the first is from Jezebel.com, which, again, it's a source I would never normally use because it's Jezebel. But this is just, everything about this article is just absurd. Now, I don't know whether you've been following the controversy around No Man's Sky. I've been kind of keeping an eye on it, but I don't really care because I didn't back it and I'm not interested in playing it. But apparently it's total shit. And everyone was promised the universe and didn't deliver. And so this article's called "Why Isn't It Called No Woman's Sky?" And that is just an amazing question. I mean, it's where no man has gone before, so you might say no man's sky. It's an allusion to a famous phrase. Why isn't it called No Woman's Sky? Well, because it's an allusion to a famous phrase. But if they called it No Woman's Sky, wouldn't you fucks call that sexist? You'd be like, well, are you saying it's a man's sky? And women are simply not allowed. They have to stay in the fucking kitchen. So, hey, you're an idiot, Bobby Finger. But this is just the beginning of the retardation of this article. So they say, for those of you who have spent the past week wondering why Jezebel has not yet published a review of the long-awaited PC console game No Man's Sky, nobody has. Nobody has been wondering that. Fuck. Allow us to explain ourselves. We find this in the name of first-person space travel games to be distasteful, offensive, and shamelessly anti-feminist. That's retarded. That's the most ridiculous thing in the world. If it's anti-feminist to say man in the title of something, then just by default you're excluding women when you say that. Then I mean, do you not see how far you've gone? But obviously this is not. Honestly, I think Gawker are just a parody of themselves at this point. After bringing out The Cuck, I mean that's a hell of a parody, Gawker. But you're the ones. I mean, is this really getting you the clicks you desire? I mean, maybe I'm clicking on it, so maybe it's working. But Jezebel will not be reviewing or even playing No Man's Sky in a game that takes place in blah blah. There should be more enough room for equality. For an in-depth review, please visit our sister site Kotaku. What, so they can mansplain it at me or something? Don't you want a woman-splain it at me? But not only that, you're desperate to get 2 clicks for the price of 1 here. Here's our protest article saying we're not going to review it, but read the other Gawker site review here. Nice try, you fucking con artist. So that's that. It was just everything about this was just absurd. I didn't get to talk about this because again, it was just like, oh, why are you doing this to yourselves? It's like you're kicking yourselves in the balls or something. If they, I mean, yeah, millennials outraged over TV show portraying millennials as outraged. Well, I guess stereotypes exist for a reason, right? But yeah, a millennial member of a focus group was angrily objected to the contents of a television program because it portrayed millennials as coddled, easily offended, and thin-skinned. The thing is, this is all true. You really are like this, and why would that not cause a bit of self-reflection? If they're like, God, you get outraged at everything, and you're like, what, that outrages me. You would think that a normal person would just stop and be like, okay, maybe you have a point, and but this is somehow in the Independent. It's a national newspaper in this country. This is like news, But I think that says a lot to the social ill that these people are creating by being so hyper thin-skinned. It's like, well, look, you're kind of ruining everything for everyone. You're ruining comedy. I mean, I love that Jerry Seinfeld came out against hypersensitive millennials. Jerry Seinfeld, he's not a controversial comedian. How could he possibly be? I mean, he's a Jew. He's a marginalized group. What could you possibly object to? But yeah, I haven't seen the show, but it's just stop being a bunch of pussies. And stop being a bunch of bigots as well. It's not Muslims or people with mental health problems who are most likely to kill you in a terrorist attack. It's men. Just, I mean, can you imagine seeing the world in such simplistic terms? You know, being like, right, okay, well, let's just find the lowest common denominator. Let's, you know, it doesn't matter if there are other less common attributes that also, you know, we can continue drilling down on. Okay, it's men, yeah, okay, it's Muslim men, okay, it's Muslim men with a certain pattern of behavior, okay, it's certain men with a certain pattern of behavior who download certain materials from the internet, okay, and they associate certain mosques, okay. We can really narrow down the number of people who might be the problem here, and you know, to be as unbigoted as possible, and to not accuse anyone who has done nothing wrong. We can do this just by a process of deduction. You know, by looking at the statistics, okay, there are patterns of behavior here, at least to a certain degree. Maybe we can't go all the way, but at least we can go some part of the way. But instead, this person just wants to stop it. You know what? Fuck it. It's just men, isn't it? They're just all men. There's no difference. So fuck it. It's obviously toxic masculinity. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm a bigot, but, you know, power and structural, I don't know, something. What, like, and again, independent fucking national newspaper. Why are they posting complete shit? Mass male violence is everywhere right now. Yeah, Jesus. Well, I mean, it's human violence as well, isn't that fundamentally the problem? Because women still commit some violence. So the problem is human. So what are we going to do? We're just going to persecute all humans. As each massacre is reported, ministers and media leap to unpick each individual attacker's motivations. Immediately, the snap judgments come out. You know what? That, honestly, the snap judgments have been coming out, not just about this either, about almost everything before any details are out. I mean, the Minnesota stuff is just the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. We are, I mean, it just doesn't matter anymore, does it? You know, this is the thing. The battle lines are drawn. It just does not fucking matter what the situation was. I mean, nobody gives a fuck. You know, there are certain, like, dog whistle words. They hear cop, they hear black guy, boom. You know, that black guy could have gone down, like, 1,000 fucking people. 10 dozen cops, I don't know. And you'd still be like, well, they killed a black guy, though, didn't they? I mean, literally, the Minnesota thing, black cop is threatened with a gun by a black man, and he shoots the black man, and this is white people's fault. That to me is incredible. That is just like there were no white people involved in this sort of interaction, and yet they're like running around going, let's beat up white people. And it's like, okay. So, I mean, and don't get me wrong, there are definitely people when there's a terrorist attack, like there's one in Thailand, and people are like, oh, and it's like, no, it's just, it was a different political group, but some separatist thing or something. I didn't read into it. But yeah, people assumed it was Islamic terror, and it wasn't. And yeah, okay, it does happen. But it happens on both sides, and usually with a lot more gusto on the regressive side. What was this even about? Oh, yeah, Muslims. Muslim terrorism. But yeah, so instead of talking about Islam at all, because that would be Islamophobic, we have to talk about toxic masculinity, which is what entitles a man to take up a weapon and take other people's lives in the name of his values. Toxic masculinity. It's very interesting, isn't it? Because what she's saying there is all of history's greatest heroes are demonstrating toxic masculinity. You know, like when people are defending themselves from invasions, they feel entitled to take up a weapon and take other people's lives in the name of their values. I mean, yeah, okay, well, that is not like, it depends what your values are, of course. You know, it's highly subjective, highly contextual, but it's not in some way a bad thing. It's not a toxic thing that a man feels entitled to take up his weapons and take other people's lives in the name of his values. Sometimes that's entirely rational and necessary, and not doing that is bizarre. You know, if someone breaks into my house, I'm going to take up a weapon and try and protect my family. You know, you know, if this person was going to attack me, or, you know, I would defend myself, obviously. I mean, why would, how could you say that is an immoral thing or that's a toxic thing? For the love of God, I swear to God, feminism is just, it's the worst. It's just so silly. And Barack Obama's a feminist, you know. Oh, he's totally a feminist. You know, just who isn't a fucking feminist these days? Our prime minister's a feminist. Theresa May's a feminist. Justin Trudeau's a feminist. Who's not a fucking feminist? You know, is anyone else the French? The Germans, I'm sure Merkel's probably a feminist. Assuming she's not just a lizard. So yeah, toxic masculinity enforces the idea that being a man means not just being strong, but showing that strength through violence and fear. That's really not what you just said, is it? That's really not taking up weapons in the name of your values. You know what, you're conflating a very, very broad statement with now meaning terrorism. You know, this fucking, I hate this just kind of double think. And I bet most people don't even think this deeply into it. They don't really, you know, they glance at it, that sounds like bollocks. So on the plus side, at least they probably think you're talking shit. But there are people who think you're not. And that bothers me. Why would people not think you're talking shit? I mean, why aren't these people just written off as bigots? You know, what you're saying, just men are the problem. Well, I am going to put that in my title. So, you know, I mean, I don't want to say it, but like, why is the Independent giving this person a platform? If you were to say that it's, you know, it's not, you know, women are the problem, you know, or Muslims are the problem, or Christians are the problem, it's women, people, they'd pitch a fucking fit. Just, it drives me crazy. And okay, since we're on the subject, I never got around to talking about this. Tommy Robinson accused by police of inciting racial hatred over a fuck ISIS England flag. Right? Now, I don't care what someone's opinion of Tommy Robinson is. I care that the police in this case the Bedfordshire police are being fucking retarded. If you say he is inciting racial hatred with a fuck ISIS flag, and it's obviously the fuck ISIS you're concerned about, then you are saying that they are somehow connected to the communities that we are going to be will be condemned by the term fuck ISIS. Saying fuck ISIS doesn't condemn Muslim communities, you fucking idiot. It at best condemns ISIS sympathizers, and that's fine. Fuck ISIS sympathizers. And there are a worrying number of them, frankly, but fuck them. Fuck every single one of them. They should be like these things. Just why don't we just tell them to shut up and fuck off? You know, you know, they can write their articles and stuff, but why do people have to fucking listen to it? Why do the police have to act on any of this? You know, they can just be like, you know, no, that's fucking crazy. That's just you being a total bigot. But instead, it's the police being total fucks in this case. I mean, you know, who knows? Maybe he went and stabbed a bunch of Muslims before he did this or something. You know, but I mean, just saying fuck ISIS on a flag, that's not even a race, you fucking nutsass, obviously. And if you're saying that ISIS is Islamic, then that's fine, because I agree with you, but that's still not a fucking race. So, next time you go, well, you know, ISIS has got nothing to do with Islam, you're admitting you're wrong, but also, what the fuck are you talking about? This just doesn't make sense. So, and the thing is, they'd already gone to his house to try and arrest him when, you know, he'd already previously left. So it's like, have you been like, I don't know. It sounds like they're keeping an excessively close watch on him, which, I mean, okay, maybe it's understandable. Okay, I mean, maybe. I mean, I really don't know enough about the EDL or what the police's interactions with the EDL are to say, but I can imagine they're pretty fucking hostile. Because I've seen, oh man, there was a documentary on a few months ago. I think Tommy Robinson was in it. But this white English couple had gone to the police station to report that the Muslim gang in their area was bullying them and harassing them, and I think threatened them at some points and stuff like that. And they were clearly distressed. You know, they were clear. It was just like they're in their 40s. They were fat. They were, you know, they weren't, you know, going out of their house very much, and they were clearly very distressed about what they were reporting on. And the look of just smug condescension on the faces of the police, I was honestly furious. I was just like, fuck me, these are taxpayers you're looking at here. And you're just looking at them as if they're just a pair of racists, because I genuinely believe these people are being threatened by Muslim gangs. But it's like the police didn't think they were being threatened by Muslim gangs. I mean, maybe these two are just amazing racist actors that just happen to end up getting a program on Channel 4 because Channel 4 they just want to expose racists, I guess. You know, I mean, I don't know. But my God, the attitude of the police in this thing was just infuriating to watch. Even if you thought they were a bunch of fucking racists, Bedfordshire Police, and I'm pretty sure this was Bedfordshire Police as well. Just have some professionalism. Just fucking pretend like you don't care. All right? Just do them the very, very basic decency of at least listening to their complaint and maybe thinking it might be worth investigating. You know, like, I mean, these people are doing to these fucking low class people, of course, what feminists think police do to rape victims. You know, they think that they go, you know, oh, you were raped. Well, I don't think I'm going to investigate. No, I don't think it's true. You're probably just a fucking a man-hater or something. You know, as if the police take that attitude. They were actually taking that attitude to these people. You know, I mean, anyone who accuses someone of rape and says, I've been the victim of rape, yeah, their case should be fully investigated. There's no question that it should be fully investigated. It should just be investigated fairly, you know. And if a trial, it should be a fair trial. That's fine. But these people were not being treated in any way decent, and it really pissed me off. You know, it was just totally unnecessary and totally biased, and that scares me. I mean, can you imagine living in a community where you are actually being bullied by gangs of people based on an arbitrary characteristic? For example, in this case, that you weren't born as a Muslim. You know, you weren't born into a Muslim family. You were born into an English family. And you grew up English. These people were born into Muslim families in insular communities, and they grew up with a very strong identity of being Muslim. And it's the in-group, out-group against the British, against the people of the British Isles. They're the Muslims and they're the non-Muslims. They have that. You know, there is that in Islam. So is it any wonder that groups of aggressive young men happen to adopt it as an identity of their own? Of course not. Of course it's fucking not. You know, it's totally justified. You would totally expect it. And so why would you think these people are lying? Why would you think these gangs don't exist? Yeah, I mean, we know they fucking exist because of all the various fucking reports of how many young girls they rape. But the cops are just not taking this seriously. And it was infuriating. Absolutely infuriating. And I can't remember where I was going with this now, but it just fucked me off so much. And it's this sort of thing where they're keeping an excessive eye on Tommy Robinson. So, okay, yeah, sure, maybe, but look what you're doing. You know, you're accusing him of bullshit. This is the most trumped up piece of shit I've ever seen. This can't incite racial hatred unless, maybe for complete morons, but even then, you can't account for what absolute morons fucking do. You know, honestly, if some moron does something retarded that literally 99% of everyone else don't do because they understand that's obviously not what you were saying to do or something like that, what can you do about that? You know, you've obviously made yourself clear. That guy's a total fucking moron. What are you supposed to do? Not speak? Should they not have a fuck ISIS? Everyone should have a fuck ISIS flag. Are you fucking mental? You know, every Muslim should have a fuck ISIS flag. A fucking fuck ISIS English flag if they live in England. A fuck ISIS Scottish flag if they live in Scotland. A fuck ISIS Welsh flag if they live in Wales. And I'm not even trying to be some sort of giant nationalist about this, but why wouldn't they? You know, if they consider themselves British Muslims, unless they consider themselves part of a global caliphate. And if they do, we might have a problem. You know, I'm sure they don't. I'm sure if you were to ask them, do you consider yourself to be part of the global caliphate? They'd be like, no, because then I'd probably end up joining ISIS. You know? I mean, I'm joking, but seriously though, that, you know, there's nothing wrong with this fucking flag, and the police are being draconian, and I think it's down to this culture of Islamophilia the police seem to have, and it's they just have their fucking egos completely stroked by the fucking media and the establishment on the subject of Islam. It really drives me nuts. You know, Islam is one of the most Islamism is the most fascist thing I've ever. It's so bad. You know, not only do they have to control everything you do, but they have to control what you believe. There is one fucking God. Well, Jesus, at least under the Nazis, I could keep to myself, but at least I can believe how many fucking gods I want. It wasn't a core tenet of the fucking ideology. You know, you can just believe whatever I fucking like. But no. Now you have to even believe. Jesus. So, this is another thing I want to talk about. White working class boys forced to hide their identities in order to get through university. I mean, okay, I don't really understand this. What, they're saying they're gay? You know, okay, I mean, oh, well, they're not working class, I suppose, is probably the thing they have to hide. But I guess the white thing threw me off. But yeah, I guess, I mean, to be fair, though, working class people have always, I mean, you would try to make yourself seem more presentable if you were in what is termed polite company. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, classism is still a big problem in the UK today. Although saying that, I've met, you know, people from upper and lower, and there is a distinct difference between these people, but they don't seem to have too much of an issue. I mean, I've seen, you know, I've been in groups where like these people have met and they've all got on. But this is just my anecdotal evidence. I'm sure they actually hate each other. I'm sure they actually think we're all scum. Like we all think that. No, I'm joking. Talking shit. So yeah, the underrepresentation of white working class boys at university has surfaced again. This time in a report that says they feel forced to hide their identities in order to navigate the world of higher education. Parents should also be targeted as parts of efforts to increase the white working class boys' participation in higher education, and efforts to increase numbers at university level should begin at primary school and ads. Well, I do actually really agree with this. And I think it is a genuine concern because, I mean, men are the minorities in universities now. So if we're going to talk in these sort of crass, broad, generalized terms, then let's start being honest. I mean, women are getting something like 60% of the degrees these days. And so, I mean, they're genuinely, if we're going to have a world with affirmative action, if we're going to have a world with identity politics where we look at the tyranny of the statistics, we look at the statistics and go, right, well, this isn't 50-50, we need to take measures to counteract this, then you need to now take measures to counteract this to be consistent. And if you're not going to be consistent, then you're a fucking hypocrite who's looking for some privilege, and the answer is fucking no. So either way, you're going to have to do something about the situation at hand. So, you know, I want these people to be fucking held to some kind of account. I really do. You know, if you've got all of these programs, I mean, you know, I guess people would have to do like Gamergate style email campaigns or something. You know, if they want to actually affect sort of change like feminists do. But yeah, I want to see some sort of initiatives. You know, I want to see affirmative action for men. And I want you to get pissed off about it when you're like, well, why are they getting it and we're not? Because that's exactly the problem in the first place, wasn't it? Sorry, I have a particularly dry mouth, so I need some tea. Yeah, that was pretty much all I had to talk about. Actually, I've gone through it a lot quicker than I thought I would because it's all kind of pissed me off. So okay, I've got some other things I was going to talk about. So I don't know whether you know what like Hotep is, and I don't know what Hotep is. But I've kind of been aware that it's something Black Lives Matter hates, and I've seen this in like various tweets and stuff, where I've been like on the Black Lives Matter hashtag or something like that, and like you'll see them talking about things like Hotep and Ankh, and I'm guessing that Black Lives Matter are the Ankh because they seem to hate the Hotep. And I if you take 5 seconds to look at their frequently asked questions on this website, hotepnation.com, you can fucking see why, right? They say, what is Hotep? Hotep is a word that means peace and many other things. Hotep Nation is a group of people looking to restore integrity to the term Hotep after it has been smeared by liberal black media and the likes. Well, that really makes me think of Gamergate, in fact, you know? Like, like, I know what it's like to be part of a group that gets smeared by the media, the liberal media, in fact. And this seems like one of those cases. Hotep Nation is about self-empowerment and self-accountability, independence. Well, they're not bad things at all. In fact, I have argued that this is one of the problems that the black community currently faces. There doesn't seem to be much in the way of self-accountability, and the black people who do seem to hold themselves accountable seem to do very well in life. I mean, they always do their blogs that go viral on Facebook and stuff from their cars, and their cars always look quite nice. And so it's like, okay, well, these people can afford cars and they obviously have jobs. There are obviously people getting ahead in life, and then you see Black Lives Matter, they don't even have shirts. So it's like, okay, I'm seeing like the distinction already, you know. So why are hoteps always coming for black people? And this is a great answer. Many times it is a defensive response to the many attacks received, but for the most part, it's tough love. The hoteps want to see better for their black cousins and believe in their potential. It's like a parent's criticism of a child who will not push to reach their full potential, but instead chooses a path of excuses and complacency. See, these are the grown-ups. These are the people who are actually marginalized, who actually have the reasonable adult voice. I mean, they might believe some crazy stuff about black people being like melanated super beings or something. I don't know. But from what I'm reading here, this totally on board with. Are hoteps Democratic or Republican? Neither and both. Hoteps are not monolithic. You will have many who side with a particular party for various reasons. You will have many who side with neither. Wow, that's a lot like Gamergate too. It's almost like the rational sort of more mature people are actually getting around and saying, wow, these people are acting like a bunch of spoiled children and they're fucking everything up. I like this as well. Who leads the hoteps? Hoteps do not have a leader. Each hotep is a leader in their own right. So this is Black Gamergate, right? I mean, this is what this really sounds like. You know, I mean, each person in Gamergate is a leader of Gamergate is exactly the motto Gamergate had. It was, and I found very interesting about Gamergate is, especially after doing that thing about the cults, very eye level. You know, I mean, obviously you did get sort of cults of personality forming, but for the most part, it genuinely was quite eye level. People talked to each other on the same level, and it was, there were groups who spoiled it, and not everyone was like that, but most people, I do think, were like that. At least, most of the people I actually met anyway. I went to the Gamergate meetups, and everyone was totally cool. So, and there's another one at the end of August, actually, Shemfest. Have a Google it, you'll find it. It'll be awesome. Shem's awesome. So are there women hoteps? There are many hotep women. They are vital to the hotep movement. So there we go. Do you guys hate women? Right, you see, I love this. Why is that in there? Well, because they've been called misogynists. Why have they got other hotep women? Of course they're gay women. Do you guys have it? Of course not. Man, this is Black Gamergate. This is the reaction from obviously a black community or the black community, in the same way that Gamergate was the reaction to the gaming community. Why don't you guys practice feminism? Feminism is a social construct created by the oligarchy who started gender wars for the purpose of breaking up the nuclear family. Okay. Well, he's not wrong, is he? Divide and conquer. On blacklivesmatter.com under the villages section, they clearly state they want to break up the nuclear family. We do not need feminism video for clarification. I will look at that another time, but I won't do while I'm doing thing. I should have streamed it via projection thing early or whatever it is. Why do you say there's no racism? In the movie The Great Debaters, the inspirational dialogue goes, who's your opponent? He doesn't exist. Why does he not exist? Because he is merely a dissenting voice to the truth I speak. We do in fact recognize racism as a system, but will not allow it to hinder us by simply removing it as a hurdle in our minds. It's a psychological strategy. Now this is exactly what I fucking said in the video about why do black people commit more crime. I made the point that even if all of this is true and is structured systems of oppression, and some of it is not specifically against black people, against poor people, it's just that these people happen to have the group identity of black. There happen to be a lot of them who are poor. But okay, let's just assume you do interpret it as structural systems of racism. They're not very good structural systems of racism. And like these people are saying, and like I said, there are actually ways to just get around them. You can just not do the things that cause them to victimize you, like these people are suggesting, and then you don't have any of these problems. And this is why they're saying that, look, this doesn't really exist if you don't want it to. It's in your mind. And like they say, it's a psychological strategy. I think they've got a good point here. I'm not sure I agree with the definition of racism. But in my opinion, racism is prejudice based on race. So, I mean, it's quite broad, I suppose. But this is just the common English definition of racism. I don't see why we can't then amend it to say institutional racism, and we have an institution that's prejudiced based on race. That's, that just seems to make more sense to me. It's more detailed, isn't it? You can actually be incredibly specific. And this is, I think, another problem when these people say like racism, not these people, but like Black Lives Matter and stuff. They say racism and they say it's structural system oppression. It's like, well, don't talk to me then, because I'm not wielding any kind of systemic oppression. Well, you're white, yeah, but I don't have any control over other white people. There's nothing I can do to influence this thing. And it's many things. Well, it might be, but this isn't. This is one interpersonal thing. I've never had any interaction with you before. So either I can't be a racist because I'm not representing the institution, or racism is also interpersonal. And so you saying everyone's a racist because of interpersonal interactions you don't like doesn't make any sense. So anyone can join HOTEP. There are no racial barriers, but the goal is to uplight the black community across the globe since it's the most abused and oppressed. Okay. So I'm not against the idea of black people working to improve black people's situation. In fact, I'm very in favor of that. In fact, obviously. But maybe it's because I'm English. I wouldn't couch it in like racial terms. But I would definitely suggest, obviously I would probably couch it in class terms because I'm English. But yeah, okay, fine. Okay. I've got no particular problem with this. So I like the proactive nature of what they're doing, and I think that more people should be proactive. If there are things you can do, you should do them. And if they're going to make your life better, you definitely should do them. So what's stopping you? Well, the white man. No, he's not. No one's actually stopping you from making your life any better, for Christ's sake. So what's the goal of HOTEP? Prosperity at any cost, independence by any means. Okay. We plan on focusing our people around economics by pushing them to develop new skills. Fantastic. We believe that we need to shift the black community from being habitual consumers to becoming habitual producers. That way we can build a strong economic base. That's a fucking good plan. We also seek to instill a better diet, as blacks suffer from many illnesses comparable to any other group, like people like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. Yeah, why not? It's sure, I don't know how you're going to make people do that. I guess a culture of encouragement and acceptance of that, then yeah, why not? Lastly, we believe in exercising our spirituality faculties above and beyond religious structures. Structured religions. Yeah, probably a good idea as well. I'm not a big fan of structured religions. So what's the relation between HOTEP and Egypt? Egypt, even. The term HOTEP stems from ancient Egypt, Kemet or KMT. Often people will say this is the only thing the HOTEPs talk about, and that's not true. Okay, so I'm no Egyptologist. I've read Howard Carter's Tomb of Tutankhamun. I've read like the Wikipedia dynasties of pharaohs and stuff. But I'm no expert. But as far as I'm aware, not many of them are actually black. As far as I'm aware, they were Middle Eastern looking. I don't think they're actually Semitic, though. I'd have to check. I think there's something else, Hamite or something. But apparently they looked Middle Eastern. But there may have been dynasties of black pharaohs at some point. Egypt had a very long history. So maybe it's not the most unlikely thing. I've seen in the British Museum, there are a few statues that do have pretty fucking full lips and pretty flat noses. So maybe at points there were like Nubian pharaohs or something. I like I said, I don't know. But it's not the most unbelievable thing. If there were going to be, black rulers of anywhere, it would have been some point in Egypt. And sorry, give me 5 seconds. Sorry about that. So yeah, like I said, I'm no expert on ancient Egypt, but it's possible, I guess. So Hoteps do recognize the dynasties of West Africa, like the Empire of Mali, and the notable royalty like Queen Nzinga of Ndongo, Angola. Yeah, there were some sub-Saharan on the west coast. There was also was it Ben Bennett, something like that. Then I can't remember the name of it now. But there was a a great city that the slave traders used to buy slaves from, and they had various hinterlands and whatnot. So we recognize the history of all groups of African people across all continents. Egypt happens to be one of the 7 wonders of the world, while the pyramids are. The architecture is unparalleled, and even modern technology cannot duplicate it. That's not true. We could duplicate it. It's the birthplace of Greek philosophy, mathematics, language, science, and monotheism. Okay, well, the Greeks certainly did have a lot of influence from the Egyptians. There's no doubt. But that's not really what we would... That's not really what we would consider Greek philosophy, I guess. I imagine we'd call Greek philosophy kind of... I suppose there was quite a lot of influence. I mean, it's fair to say there was... I mean, it depends. I guess when people say Greek philosophy, they generally mean the Socratic method and Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, and a few others. So, I mean, maybe... I mean, a lot of the lawgivers did go to Egypt, or claimed to go to Egypt anyway, like Solon and Lycurgus. But I don't know. Maybe. I wouldn't rule it out. Mathematics again, maybe. Language, it's not the birthplace of language. Science, I wouldn't say that either. And monotheism, true. There's Akhenaten, who's an Egyptian pharaoh who believed that the sun was the only god and had a big civil war about it after his death. That's why Tutankhamun got, I don't know, trampled by a chariot or something. So yeah, that's true. We believe it's sacred to our history. Many blacks complain when whites are portrayed as royalty in ancient Egyptian movies. They cause cultural appropriation, but if you're not claiming your own history, expect someone else to, and they'll create economics around it. And okay, I totally respect that point of view. It's just like, okay, well, you expect them to. They made the movie. Who do you think they were going to cast as the pharaoh? If it was done by a black company, by black people, they're obviously going to, have more black people in it. It's just, and it's not about like necessarily about in-group preference directly either. It's more going to be about just who's around them. The communities they're in, who are they going to know? That who's going to approach them? But yeah, I totally am on board with this proactive attitude. Are all of you guys vegan, vegetarian? Not all. Okay. Well, I guess some of them are. How do I join? I'm not interested in joining. Is this a religious sect? It's not a religious sect. Though at times it can appear like one. Okay. Interesting. But they say they're not monolithic. Maybe. Why do Hoteps disagree with Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter wishes to appeal to the moral nature of people who have shown no signs of having a moral compass. Oh, shit. Hoteps believe this is asinine. Okay. Black Lives Matter would rather complain about the damage the white man has done to their communities instead of fixing the issues themselves. Well, okay, look, I just want to kind of step in and defend the white people for a second. What the fuck are you talking about? I mean, I guess you're talking from the worldview of Black Lives Matter. If Black Lives Matter thinks that the white man is amoral and just wants to enslave the black man, there's no point appealing to the moral nature of the white man. Okay. But I mean, I'm sure, well, maybe they do think that. Jesus, who knows? But either way, at least their attitude's better than Black Lives Matter. I don't see these people fucking shooting any cops anytime soon. Although, oh no, apparently he was nothing to do with Black Lives Matter. He was just sympathetic to the cause. He just happened to shoot 5 cops at a Black Lives Matter protest. Or was it Black Lives Matter, or was it just lots of black people there? I thought it was a Black Lives Matter one. But yeah, I'm sure he had nothing to do with it. Black Lives Matter is a religion of peace. So, and yeah, I agree with this as well. Black Lives Matter would rather complain about the damage the white man has done to their communities instead of fixing the issue themselves. Yeah, even if you think you're being depredated upon, probably saying that wrong, by the white man, if it's within your power to fix it, why the fuck wouldn't you? So Black Lives Matter wishes to protest, Hoteps do not. Black Lives Matter will not acknowledge the black on black crime in the community, while Hoteps do. Okay, so they're being realistic. Black Lives Matter does not believe that black economics will cure many of the black community's problems, and Hoteps have reason to believe otherwise. Yeah, well, if the problem is poverty, then not doing poor, would probably really help. There's been a deliberate smear campaign against Hoteps, which you can see if you Google Hotep. So naturally, there'll be conflict between the groups because of this. Yeah, and I'm sure the Black Lives Matter started. You guys are like the MRAs of the black community, right? You know, you're the Gamergators. Hoteps do not wish for government interference, but instead believe that the problems within the black community can be solved by the black community without government interference. In a 1999 trial, the United States government was found guilty of conspiracy to murder Martin Luther King Jr. Why would you want a government that does that to your leaders having a hand in your community? Well, that's a good fucking question. And that's true. Back in the day, they did. And he knew it was coming, didn't he? You know, I remember I was watching a documentary about it where he was quite emotional on the day before it happened. I can't remember. But, yeah, that's counterintuitive. We need not go into the infiltration of the Black Panther Party by the FBI, which they probably have done. Black Lives Matter is being... This group's probably not being funded by George Soros. You know, the Hoteps. They're probably not. Black Lives Matter will admit the government is corrupt, but in the same breath ask for government assistance. Good point. We believe that Black Lives Matter is a group that's propped up by the same oligarchy that Black Lives Matter claims oppresses them. Well, it kind of... they are. But, yeah, they are. They're actually not... I mean, technically that's probably true. They are complaining about the white capitalist patriarchy, and then they're the ones in Democrat cities. I mean, this is all happening in Democrat cities, isn't it? Where there've been Democrat government, city government for decades. And it's like, okay, I mean, maybe these people are oppressing them. Maybe everyone like outside is just like, well, holy shit. I mean, didn't Baltimore get found to be really racist? Their police department. It's okay, but everyone else isn't racist, you know? It's just Baltimore, apparently. But seriously, though, going all white people are racist because Baltimore police are racist. Come on. This is like saying all men are terrorists because some men are terrorists. But, oh, they even wrong out George Soros. In short, Black Lives Matter is a Trojan horse to black power, propped up by billionaires like George Soros through his Open Society organization. If you follow the money trails, you'll be able to connect the dots. That's true. Are Hotep conspiracy theorists? Again, Hoteps are not monolithic. It's totally a Gamergate answer, isn't it? You know, well, Gamergate is not like a monolith. You know, lots of different people believe different things. Many fall under the category of a conspiracy theorist, but we believe that if you're not theorizing, then you're not thinking for yourself. Oh, that's an interesting way of looking at it. But also, we know George Soros is funding these groups. I mean, it's not necessarily a theory, it's direct evidence linking him to funding them. So, does pro-black equal anti-white? It might, but that's not always the case. Are pro-animal rights anti-human rights? Yeah, can you now see how ridiculous the question is? Yeah, I can. I don't know why you say it might at the beginning. Do any of the Hoteps own businesses? Again, it's part of our main goal to be producers, so yes. Good. There are many business owners in the Hotep community. We'll publish a list in the future and update the link page here. Page to link here. What does Hotep do for the community? One should not ask what Hoteps do for the community. They should ask what they do for the community. A community is made up of individuals. Hoteps build strong individuals, which by default creates a stronger community. Okay, yeah, I'm sold. I don't even care if they're kind of racist against white people. Their attitude is just so much better for the black community. This is actually a responsible thing to say to people. You know, this is actually going to improve their lives in some measurable way. If you would say, look, I'm going to open a business and I'll work really hard. 10 years down the line, we'll see where I am. 10 years down the line, you'll find yourself in a much better position than you would if you became a Black Lives Matter, quote unquote, revolutionary, funded by George Soros. You know, it's this is such a better plan than Black Lives Matter. It's just the thing is, it's eminently respectable. You're going to create a community of respectable people. How are you going to stereotype black people as violent criminals if you have a community full of respectable people? How could you do it? You know, then people are like, well, you're obviously actually a racist. You know, you can look at Black Lives Matter in Milwaukee looting and rioting and go, okay, maybe these people, not black people, just these particular people, you know, maybe they do stretch to a wider community issue in this area. But if your community is nothing but fucking business owners, then you can't. You know, these people have got stake in the community. They actually have an investment in what they're doing. You know, this is how they become pillars of the community, not by rioting, running around screaming "beat white people." Fucking hell. But yeah. So I much prefer these values over Black Lives Matter values, any day of the fucking week. And as someone who went through Gamergate, I can see a lot of Gamergate in this. It's very interesting. I'm gonna be doing an interview with some people from Hotep. Actually, I tweeted a few of them. I got again, like Gamergate, I got fucking responses. But I have got responses. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I got fucking responses. They want to talk to people. They're genuinely concerned about these issues, and you know, Black Lives Matter, just like the SJWs. I couldn't get a single fucking one. Couldn't get a single fucking one on, and it's just like, man, I think that these sorts of communities are going to start sprouting up wherever social justice goes, and you know, and maybe that's a good thing, maybe it's not, I don't know, but it seems like a positive thing, you know, and it seems like we should at least talk to these communities and say, look, we've got some things in common here against the same enemy, you know, so maybe it might be worth networking with these people a bit, because I don't want these people to keep gaining ground. You know, it's really pissing me off. Like, one of the things that's going to be in This Week in Stupid this week is Jess Phillips building a fucking bunker, probably at taxpayer expense, and then Scotland Yard creating like a £1.7 million Twitter police unit or something like that. Because Jess Phillips received some nasty tweets, allegedly, that we've not seen. And it's just like, dude, this shit is going too far. You know, we need some kind of like, you know, there needs to be some kind of fucking response to this, because that is just absurd, isn't it? That's millions of pounds of taxpayer money are going on Twitter. Just like fuck off. Just fuck off. These people can just be banned from Twitter. You know, right? You're too much of a sensitive snowflake for Twitter. I'm afraid no. We've got a safe space version of Twitter that literally it's you've got to be on an approved list of people. You know, Jess Phillips, you happen to be on it. Anit Sarkeesian, you happen to be on it. Yeah, we're going to call it feministechochamber.com. You know, you can just go in there and never be bothered by anyone at all. Fucking hell. Anyway, I'm going to stop waffling shit now. And yeah, so these things piss me off. But I can put them into This Week in Stupid. And it worries me that in This Week in Stupid, I'm able to make overarching points, like actual points of principle, saying, look, all of these things are happening within 1 week, and they're all major symptoms of real problems that people are afraid to deal with and try to demonize the people who are trying to deal with them. You know, we're going to have to start like having a conversation around some of these people with the people who matter. You know, so I mean, you know, like if you live in Bedfordshire, you know, you are totally within your right to contact the Bedfordshire police, you know, via email and say, look, I strongly object to you doing the things you're doing. You know, I strongly object to the way you're conducting yourselves, the way you're treating people like Tommy Robinson. If you have criminal charges against him, file them. You know, but you can't just sit there and say, oh well, you know, you're inciting racial hatred because you're against Islam, ISIS, the Islamic State. And even if you're against Islam, that's still not racial fucking hatred. So for the love of God, I just want some fucking common sense back. This has just it's gone too far, and we need to start like winding it back a bit into the realm of sanity, and not build and build and build on this fucking nonsense.